So our next presenter is Lorenza. She's an Italian-Australian therapist and has been part of the Institute since 2011 and is also part of the clinic staff. She has a background in EFT, family constellations and mindfulness. She is the illustrator of many of the drawings in some of our books that Grant has published. As an English teacher for kids and young adults with learning difficulties and dyslexia, she is finding creative and playful ways to address the causes of those difficulties. Her drive is to support people in their own journey to be better beings and to truly enjoy who they really are. Today, Lorenza will be interviewing Ritte Ellyton, who is a graduate of our work and she had the markers that our Asperger's process could resolve. So Lorenza, over to you.
My name is Lorenza Meneghini, as Shane introduced me. I'm a certified ISPS therapist, and I have joined the clinic staff a couple of years ago. And I was actually trained in the Asperger's process more or less a year ago. Our approach is very different than others, as you have seen. In the case of Asperger's, it's not just managing the situation, like reading clues on someone's face to know, to understand or to guess what their emotions are, or actually encouraging, improving behavioral, social, and communication skills. Sometimes speech and occupational therapy are also used to help Asperger's people. Our process actually gets to the root cause of this problem by eliminating some key issues. Feeling socially isolated, not socially connected, and what we call the glass wall feeling. So there is this perception of being inside of a glass wall. What we actually we treat is this experience of being in a glass wall. There is a barrier that we cannot physically touch that separates people with Asperger's from others. There are several ways that this can be experienced. Some people describe it as they are inside of a glass ceiling that goes all the way up and encloses the person above and below and also on the sides. Some describe it as being inside of a bubble, and these people just retract to this bubble when they feel they are in a difficult emotional situation, when surrounded, especially surrounded by people, by others. There are also another type of people, and they experience a totally different feeling. They actually say that they feel hypersensitive and almost not at all separated. But this mechanism here is totally unconscious, and it is a compensation to what they have. So in order to connect to others, these people reach them by moving their COA, which is what we say, it's at the center of our awareness, is where we are, it's where we feel we are inside. And they move this COA outside of their body. And they kind of touch others so they can feel their emotions. But this way is actually dysfunctional, and these people are not protected by their bodies, and they are so exposed that they feel way too sensitive. A person doesn't need to be diagnosed with Asperger's to benefit from this treatment. This person may have subclinical symptoms, and they cannot be detected by professionals. They cannot be diagnosed by professionals. And this could be also, yes, this could be also done because, or created because the person can be affected on only one side, because we have the problem from the mother side and also the father side. And the fact is that people are suffering from this, they do feel that they have something that is wrong about them, and it's in everyday life, they do feel that there is something not okay with them. Um, in our model, Asperger's is very, very different than autism. As you've heard from many of our talks, we see the difference in from what the medical system sees. So we know that Asperger's is actually classified under the autism spectrum in many countries, but autism is a cognitive impairment, while many people with Asperger's are highly functioning. So the treatment that we have only addresses the social part of the syndrome, and you can find the list on our treatment page on the Institute website. And the criteria are classified under the qualitative impairment in social interaction, and they are like marked impairments in the use of multiple nonverbal behaviors, such as eye-to-eye contact, the facial expression, the body posture, and the gesture. And I remember one of my clients, when he first got in contact with me, he couldn't look into my eyes for more than a few seconds. He would stare from somewhere else, and he would not make eye contact. At the end of the treatment, he didn't even took his eyes or his glaze off me. So it was a very beautiful experience. So other problems are the failure to develop relationships appropriate to the age. And also some people with Asperger's have this not spontaneous sharing of enjoyment or interest. For example, it's hard for them to point. They see something beautiful and then they just don't share it. They don't know how to do it. So I'm going to explain very briefly how the process works. So our process consists of regressing to a developmental event happening before birth. And as I said before, we do both the female side and the male side, so egg and sperm, and they are treated separately. So the therapist guides the client to one of these sides, then helps the person healing the different types of trauma that arise from listening to a specific Gaia music and repeating the Gaia command for this event. We use our techniques to get to a full healing of this event, and then we repeat to the other side. It takes a few sessions. It depends on the client, of course, and it also depends if the client has it on only one side or also both sides. Regarding the results, I'm going to list only some of them. When people get this treatment, the clients might be able to experience the sky above them, something that they could never do before the treatment. The perception of the world changes. They can sort of touch it. The world feels so much more real than before. They are at ease with the presence of others. They can enjoy the company of others. With another patient of mine, I could feel like at the beginning I couldn't even feel that he was real, while at the end of the treatment, I could actually feel he was there, and I could feel his presence in the room. So there is the glass wall feeling is actually really difficult to have in somebody's life, for both sides, not only for the person who has the Asperger, but also for the people who are around them. So there also might be some adjustment issues that can be can arise after the treatment, but they can be easily treated with 1 or 2 sessions after we complete the process. In the case of the client I'm going to interview, at the end of this, I will show you her first reaction after the treatment, because it was just wonderful, and I wanted to show you how she looked like. So now I'm going to introduce Ritte. She was my training client, so she was my first client. She was my guinea pig. I met her through a good friend of mine and a colleague, Nikolai Hassing, from Denmark. Ritte is also from Denmark. And Nikolai was working with Ritte, and they started to suspect she had this issue. Ritte and I had our first session on the 23rd of April last year, so just about a year ago. And it took us 5 sessions to complete the process. I want to add something here. When we were preparing this interview, Ritte had a huge apex effect. The apex effect is when you just heal something and you just forget about it, and you just forget how bad it was when you had the issue. And for her, it was just like that. She just, at the beginning, she couldn't recall what was like for her to have the issue. But then we went through the questions, and also she watched the first session we did together with the interview, for me to get the markers, and she started to see how different she was and how different her life is right now. So is Ritte here?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Ritte.
Hi. Nice to see you again.
Yes. So, first question. When did you realize you were different from others? And in what way did you recognize this?
As I recall it, I think it was back when I'm 61 years today, so we are going far back in the kindergarten, where I often played alone, and I was probably not good making contacts to others. Mm.
Okay. So, did it handicap you in social interactions at school, growing up as a child? You touched on it, but can you just expand?
It was horrible. I did not like being on a school camp or holiday camp, and so I always needed to retire because I was exhausted, or I got exhausted from being with others. And I did not have any problem being in my own company. However, I later made close friends with who I hung out with, and I was not the quiet girl in the class. So
Good.
yeah.
So as you grew up, you also answered this a little bit, but did you get used to this experience and adapt to this way of being, or did you remain a handicap, or did you turn into an advantage for you?
In my teens, I had a lot of control over me and my things, and I need some kind of order. My room was very tight, and if I compared myself with others, my friends, school friends, and so forth, I was different. And I could see and I could feel that I was different, but no one did ever mentioning it. But I, I also thought that I felt I was more mature than my friends with whom I hang out with others who were quite older than myself. Yes, I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't knew what it was at that time. Hmm?
Okay. Okay. So you actually kind of turn it into an advantage, also feeling more mature. Okay. So next, did you enjoy team sports as a child? Were you clumsy, and did you have excuse me, and did you have any issues with team sports, such as perceiving the people around you?
I don't think so. Actually, from the age of 6, I started taking lessons, dance lessons, and later on it became handball, jazz ballet, acrobats, and in my adult years, I did the kite surfing, swimming, running, fitness, whatsoever, and I was not clumsy at all. Rather the opposite. Yes.
Okay. We asked this question as we noticed that some people who have Asperger's have difficulties when playing team sports, as they cannot perceive the space around them and distance between them and the others or the ball, if involved in the team sport. And people with Asperger's could also find it very, very difficult to move in crowded places or markets, as their perception is altered. In the case of Ritte, she actually didn't have that a lot, but as you can see, also in the later stage of her life, she really liked being by herself and doing sports alone. Okay. So, did you receive a diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome? And if so, did I help you?
No, never. No.
Okay. And did you ever lose hope?
No, I didn't. When I was in my 30s, I started asking questions about life and its content, and I started looking for a solution that would help me getting better in some way. And because I had the feeling that something was wrong with me, I was just not aware of what it was that was wrong. So I started studying EFT, energy healing, and I just keep moving. Yeah, I knew that there must be something I could do about it, and I was urgent to find out how I could heal this issue with me. Mm.
Okay. When you were told about our definitions of Asperger's, this glass, the feeling of the glass wall, how did you respond to that? And did it resonate with your perception?
From the last seminar, composition of what you call it, I saw Ketang's explanation of his experience of having Asperger. And when he was talking, I could feel my body react as I just thought, it is me he describes. I was out of myself. I didn't know what to do because it was real. Anyway, I became so grateful knowing that there was a solution for me. So I just have to cling to it and have it done. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Gaetan, for the talk, because that led Rita to me and to the process for her that changed her life so nicely. Next, why did you want to undertake this process and not settle with your previous experience?
I wasn't feeling well, and I constantly knew that something was wrong with me. I wasn't living my life optimally, and I really wanted to live my life fully. And when I think back of it, I can recall everything very easily. It was actually like I was living in some kind of a cave. I was not in your world, but with my antenna, my intuition, my senses, whatever, I was sensing what was going on in your world and how I was connected to it, but I was never connected to it. And the huge difference that appears was when I went up. It's a part of the process. When I went up, my life changed, and I can feel I got goosebumps all over my body. It was so differently. It was so differently. Yeah.
Right. So what results did you get from our work together, and what happened when the glass cylinder experience disappeared, and how has it changed your life experience?
By the time we were talking about entering this interview, I actually forgot a lot. I had this APIC syndrome, but I later on recall that I got the last when I got the last treatments of Asperger. I clearly remember that I felt bigger. It was like a part of the room where it was like I was a part of the room where I inhaled the oxygen instead of being separated from the room where I was in. I knew it sounds weird, but it is how it is. I was in one with life. I was united with life and not next to it. And this is very important. Before I got healed, I healed the Asperger's. I was separated from life. When I had the Asperger done, I was connected to life. That's what we are talking about. And thank you, Lorenza, for your guidance and support. It was amazing. I really admire your patience. Thank you.
Thank you to you for your trust. So what did you like most about this work?
At that time, when I had the Asperger done, I was a peak state student. And I would say it's not a walk in the park. It is not. But I like the feeling and sensing of small steps moving forward. Like I get used to the small changes over time. I like that you, as my therapist, had a lot of patience because that's really needed. But what was good for me to experience as a peak stage student was, how do I heal the trauma? How was it that I had to go through it all? And I knew that as a student, so that was got good knowledge for me. Yes, things takes time, and so do the Asperger process.
Did you have only positive outcomes, or did you have to adapt to your new experience?
I remember I felt a bit sensitive, and you and I had a session, and then I was okay again. Yes.
Yes, you remember well.
Yeah.
Would you please describe the final stages of your change? When did you realize you had the final outcome, and how was this different for you?
I recall when I opened my eyes after the last session and discovered the huge changes that I felt. It was so amazing. I was in a natural way of a part of life. I felt present with what was going on around me. And today I love being with friends, and preferably several at the same time. And I do not get exhausted if I stay with them for several hours. I want more. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Rita, for your for sharing your experience with us. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna show you a very quick video.
Oh. what a cozy feeling. It's like the room where I'm in. Maybe it's me that's getting bigger, or the room that's getting smaller. But my way of sensing it has come
closer to you.
closer,
Yes.
much more closer to me. It's like, ooh, really, really different. But I think, Lorenza, the biggest feeling is that I can sense my whole body with the size that it has. I have never been able to do that.
To really feel your whole body.
Yeah, the way I'm doing now, where I had the column done by Lila, and it helps. It helped me some way, but this is mind blowing. It feels mind blowing. It's like I can sit here and look through the window, and I can actually sense the tree, the plants, the flowers. It's weird.
Here we go. So that was Rita's experience, and for me, it's still moving to now. Yes, I got tears. So thank you so much, Rita, for your trust. Thank you so much for whoever put a lot of effort into making this possible. And I just want to add that we have 13 therapists who are trained to run this process in different languages and in also different time zones as well. And you can find the complete list on this page here. I'm going to share the last bit. My contacts are on my sorry, I'm not tech wise today.
Oh, that's all right. We saw that.
So okay, here you go.
The web page is peakstatesclinics.com/aspergers.html. So we can see that.
Exactly. That's where you find all the information about this process and all our awesome and friendly therapists who can help you with this.
Thank you so much. That was great to see that. This is one of the reasons why we do this work, is to see the positive difference that it makes to others. So thank you so much to Ritta for sharing her story, and thank you so much, Lorenza, for guiding us through the process.
Thank you. Thank you all.